Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for another session where we get to just talk and change lives. And so we ask that you guide and govern this conversation that we have as we're here at the Bros to Men show in Jesus' name. Amen.
If I call you bro, it means I love you, bro. That means I'll go to war with you.
Fire, baby.
The reason why you need to know your identity is because when you know who you are, people don't get to define it for you. So when I tell you guys who you have in your circle is important.
You're listening to the Bros to Men podcast with Cameron Persad, Jeff T. Osborne, and Roy Rand.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Bros to Men podcast, where we give you guys content and have conversations that inspire action. And so, hey, we're here for another session, another time, another conversation with my bros, Cam and Debs. What's up? How y'all fellas feeling? How you fellas feeling, man?
Good, bro.
Yeah?
Feels good to be here.
Man, it feels good to be back, man. Get some content, inspire some people. I'm energized, ready to go. Got the coffee on deck.
That's right.
Yo, so,
Dive in.
hey, so look, I've been mulling over this conversation. There's a lot going on. We have social media. We have everybody around this world is talking on this buzzword. And we're going to dive into this buzzword. And everybody is talking about the power of being able to build a brand. And I want to bring this up and kind of have this conversation with you guys about the power of building the brand of you. Like, if you look at your life and you look at, regardless of what you do, how many people do you think actually recognize that, whether they know it or not, whether it's intentional or not, they are a brand and they're building a brand about themselves? Like, what is your take? How many people do you think, first off, is aware of the power behind building this brand? And maybe start off with that. Like, what's the power of a brand? Before we even ask the question, I mean, do people know it? Like, what's the purpose of building a brand that you think, why does it matter?
My mentor told me the definition of a brand was a series of artifacts or breadcrumbs that you leave out to show people who you are and what you do. And so a lot of times, most people are so caught up in labels and syntax and words and actions as well. And they judge, you know. The reason why they say don't judge a book by its cover is because everybody does that. That's what they do, is actually judge a book by its cover.
Right.
They eat the
I know
menu.
I do.
They eat the menu, not the food, right?
Right.
And that's not a bad thing. That's just pattern recognition. I think it's up to us to make sure that how we carry ourselves and how we present ourselves and the actions we take are incongruent with who we actually are inside, right? You could feel, I know people that feel happy inside, but they got RBF, you know, resting in face. You know what I'm saying? I know people who act nice, you know, beware those who come to you in sheep's clothing, because underneath they're ravaging wolves. And so when I think of branding, I think of attract and repel. If I am showing and being who I am, I'm going to repel people that I don't want in my life and I don't want to be a part of, and I'm going to attract those in my tribe.
I love that.
What's your thoughts, bro?
I love that Dips mentioned that word congruency. That's such like a powerful word that I think either knowingly or unknowingly, so many people strive in life to be congruent, right?
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to you talking about brands, I think what's important to realize about branding is that people will support your brand because of who you are outside of your brand. You know what I mean? Like, what is your brand built on? Like, what is the foundation that it stands on? So let's just throw like a hypothetical situation out of there. If I have a Christian brand and I'm labeling like, this is my Christian clothing brand, but people know outside of that clothing brand, Cameron doesn't stand on those Christian principles. Do be wilding, right? Like, we've seen the stuff Cam be doing and congruency. We're talking about the opposite at that point. We're talking about polar opposites. So I think a lot of branding has to do with that congruency and you being authentic to that brand. You know, one of my favorite authors, rest in peace, was Stephen Covey. We talk about him a lot. He's written some amazing books that have become principles in our mindset, right? 7 Habits of Highly Effective People has literally put me on this trajectory that I have traveled and built probably over the last 20 years.
Right.
There's one takeaway in that book that I've mentioned and quoted and have stood on for many, many years, because it always stood out to me to be like this profound principle the first time I read it. And then as the older and the wiser and more mature I've gotten, I've really been able to peel back the definition of what he was truly saying in that book. And one of the things that he mentioned was that you have to live life with your funeral in mind. What does that mean? We don't walk around every day thinking about our death, right? But what he says is you have to live life in a way where you say, when I'm gone, when I leave this place, and I'm in the wooden box and the pastor says, does anyone want to come up and share any stories?
Yeah.
What are they going to say about me? What are they going to say about the impact that I left and the legacy that I've left and that indention that I've made on this place called Earth during my short time here, right? So I've carried that with me since, I don't know, this when we were 17 years old, 18 years old when we read that book.
18, yep.
But for 20 years now, that's how I've lived my life. Meaning that when my work is done and I'm no longer here, what will be said about my personal brand and the work that I've done during my short time here on Earth? So to me, that's what building a brand means. Whether it's intentional, a clothing brand, a work company, a logo that you recognize me for, moving mountains, or is it just a story and my character and my day-to-day habits that I've left, on people's memory?
And before we slide to Jeff, I want to point out one part to throw in the mix is if you're intentional about your brand or not, you got a brand. You have a brand. You can't not have a brand.
Yeah.
Boy, you already.
Your name is your brand.
You can't not have a brand.
Your name is your brand.
And I think that's why I asked the question, whether you know it or not, you have a brand.
Right.
Sometimes you're unaware of it, but you have a brand. In other words, how you show up to other people is your brand. Whether you in a store, if you come, look, let me tell you, you show up at 11:30 at night to Walmart
Yeah.
in your pajamas, fluffy slippers, hair jacked up. Fellas, y'all look like you got an old jacked up tank top undershirt that's all dirty.
Got holes on it.
You have officially branded yourself as a Walmartian. You should,
Copyright
Saying what's up to you in the house, staff members, oh, what up?
bro, you immediately have branded yourself as a Walmartian the moment you walk into Walmart and you look toe up from the flow up. That's a brand that you may not have intentionally. They may have caught you on your worst day. Nadia is so big on that. She'll say, I'm not going, if I got to go to a store, she'll throw on some quick face or make sure her hair is right. I said, why? Because what's the line? I don't know.
Who gonna be there?
Right.
If I ain't seen one of my high school homegirls in 20 years,
Right.
and I walk in and she see me looking toe up,
Ain't Nadia doing
I need to
Like Cam told me that about one of my exes. Like, she doing bad, bro.
right?
Hey.
You like, yo, she down bad. You don't know whether to give her a high five or slide her a five.
Right.
Hey, I got
But
you.
let's talk about that though. Like, how important is it to recognize that your brand will introduce you
before you even open your mouth.
Come on now.
Right, and that's what I love about this idea, this concept of understanding that you're building the brand of you. Every time that you walk somewhere, even if you are an employee and you work for a regular job, how you show up to work, how you deliver your job, how you have conversations around the coffee pot, all of those things are building the brand of who you are as an individual, and it's allowing your community around you to know how to address you, how to look at you, how to talk to you, or what opportunities to bring to you. And so when we talk about this idea of building our brand, it's understanding that some of us have brands that we don't even know, or we have brands that we don't like because how people see us isn't a direct reflection of who we really are. But because of how we're showing up every day, how we showing up on IG, how we're showing up on our social media, how you showing up on your podcast is creating your brand. And so the reason why I asked why this is important, because when we think about brands, you see the Nike swoosh, you know that's Nike.
Recognizable brand.
You see a half-bitten apple, you know that's Apple.
Yeah.
You see those stripes, you know it's Adidas, right? You see the M, you already know that's McDonald's. Every brand is known by the logo that people see, and then they associate that with the quality that they're going to get. And so when people see others as an individual and you don't represent your brand, I feel like that also shows them what quality they're going to get. And sometimes we're limited in opportunities because our brand is limited on how we're showing up. So for somebody who's watching this right now, and they may be out there like, okay, I get this. What would you say is the first part? Man, I got to establish a brand because a brand determines who partners with you. A brand determines, I mean, we'll talk about brand equity, right? How much you can pull out from that brand equity. What does that look like? But when we talk about building your brand, what would you guys say is like a major pillar in building your personal brand, building the brand of you? What would you say is like a major pillar right off the bat?
I think like when you talk about brands, you're talking about something that will outlive you. You know what I mean? Like when you talk about, to me, I associate brand with legacy, right? Hewlett Packard, that's a last name.
Mm,
You know, a lot of these major brands that we know
mhm.
are last names
Ford.
of families. Ford and shit.
Toyota,
Come on,
yeah,
like
yeah.
these are someone's last name. This is legacy.
Yeah.
So I think of, again, kind of to tie into a little bit we mentioned about Stephen Covey. It's like, what do I want to outlive me? So I think that's like a good, maybe a base to build on.
Oh, I love that.
You know, maybe
I
it's
love
like
that.
something to. I think the first thing you need to identify is, what does my brand represent? You know, like what are the non-negotiables for my brand?
And I think that part of that, and maybe Dips, I'll slide this to you, man, but I really believe a brand first starts with defining your purpose.
Yep.
You got to define your purpose. And I feel like that is one of the biggest, like, ideas. We think that purpose is this esoteric, like this idea that's out there. And one day you got to find
Yep.
your purpose. But I feel like when we talk about purpose, it's defining a long term vision for who you want to be and what is the audience that you want to impact.
Ooh.
Right? Like when we talk about that, what is the long-term version at the end of your life, Dips, at the end of your life, Cam, at the end of my life? What is the long-term vision and mission that I want my life to represent? And then what is the audience that I want to impact? Just like Nike started off making running shoes, and they understood like our bread and butter is sportswear.
Yeah.
Like, what is your long-term vision? So I think that starting with that is defining your purpose. How, if that's the case, how would you talk about defining your purpose, Dips?
Well, what's coming to me is that hit me, the last name thing, because I have all these outcomes I have from my family. Like, they're not generational curses because everything that's happened has built who I am. But I think each generation should take the family to the next level. And I think the way the world is and the way things are going, I personally think I'm the only one that has the vision to take my family to the next level. And so what comes to mind is outcome. What outcome, what lifestyle, what average day do I want to be standing in with my family, with the woman I end up marrying, with the kids that I have, and with just the dynamic of the whole family, right? So I'm seeing building a new life, right? And what life is about is learning to become a person you don't know how to be in order to build that new life, right? And so when I think of purpose, I think of outcome.
Yeah.
But I also feel your values and morals of who you are while you chasing that outcome have to be on point.
That's your brand.
And those
What do
together
you mean?
are your brand.
What do you mean by values and morals?
I mean, let's say one of the outcomes is to make 20 million, but how you make that 20 million is more important than making the 20 million, right? I would be sick if I tarnished my last name chasing an outcome. In the pursuit of an outcome. That would be the worst thing I would ever feel, right? Judas got the bread. He got the money.
Yeah.
But what did he get? He got the money, but what did he get after that? He was so sick with himself. What he did, he had to self-delete, and that leads to kind of what we're talking about in congruency is chasing the outcome and staying congruent. You have to make the world change to your word and your morals rather than you folding to what the world wants.
Yeah, listening to Dips, like what comes to mind to me is like mission statement. Every company that is successful You can go to their corporate headquarters and they will have a mission statement up on their wall, you know, or in their guidelines or in their employee manuscripts, whatever the case is. And I think why that's so important is because it clearly identifies what our goals are, what our objectives are. And to your point, usually after a mission statement, there's like the do's and don'ts bylaws of the company, right? What we're going to tolerate, what we're not going to tolerate, what you're going to have to do if you want to work here, and what we won't put up with. Because, and usually I've sat in on my career on a lot of different terminations, right? Of telling employees like, and to be honest with you, it literally sounds something like this. We don't think you're a good fit with our company. So what are they telling this person? It's like, we have a mission statement. And then in your time here, you have proven to us that you have not adopted this mission statement. You do not represent our brand the way we want it to be represented. And we cannot jeopardize you out here on LinkedIn and all these other socials. I'm such and such for such and such company, but representing us in a light that we don't want to be represented. So it's like, I would ask someone, what is your mission statement?
Your life mission statement.
Your life mission statement. Like, what is your goals while you are here?
So when I think about you saying that, like that life mission statement, I think about a lot of the sessions that I have with a lot of my coaching clients, and I ask them, and I learned this from one of my mentors early on in the game. His name is Rex Crane, and he always asks this question. He says, "Tell me what your life is and what your life. Tell me." You use this phrase. He goes, "My name is and my life is about."
Ooh, love that.
If you're going to talk about building the framework for defining your purpose, ask yourself that question. My name is and my life is about. If you say my name is Jeff T. Osborne and my life is about chasing that money, you just told everybody in that room that the only thing you care about is chasing that money. And if I know somebody only cares about chasing that money, then I know that it's only a matter of time before you choose money over morals. Right?
Hey, you got the button. You said it. But
hold on, let me just give you know what I'm saying? I just gave a little horn. I don't know if Solomon can give something else, but I feel like
we're talking about priorities.
Bro, priorities. So, okay, wait. Hold on. So if we talk about the first thing is defining your purpose.
Yeah.
And defining your purpose means what is the thing outside of money and success that your life is going to be determined by.
Hold on, bro. Let me hit you with this real quick.
Okay.
So, because I want to add to what you're saying.
Hit it.
So Dips and I used to always have like the saying when we were younger and go to these interviews, right? Like, if you give me the interview, I got the job, right? We used to just be right. Like, I'm gonna get in there. Yeah, like I'm just gonna sell my brand to you. Like, we need bro, right? So I'm gonna tell you about a time I actually got stumped, and I'm bringing this up because I think it adds to what you're.
About. Tell me this story.
I'm in this interview, and like I think like I'm killing it, right? Like y'all might as well cut me loose. Just give me the offer right now, right? Like just let me.
I can start Monday.
Yeah. You want to know my availability? Like let me right. So we get to the last guy. It's a panel interview. It's like 6-7 people in the panel. Everyone's asking me 10 questions. Interview over. We laughing. We chuckling. The mood's lighting up. I'm like, oh, I got this in the bag, right? We get to bro who hasn't asked me anything. He says, Cameron, I just have one question for you. One. Okay. He stumbled the mess out of me on this question. I'm going to ask y'all these questions to see how you guys decipher it. He said, Cameron, tell me about your beliefs. What are your beliefs? Okay, well, I believe in God. I believe this. I believe that. Good. Those are great answers. I really like that. Now, what are your values? Do you know the difference? Beliefs are things that you believe in. Values are things that hold value in your life. Then he looked at me and said,
"Bro, dog, I don't even know what button to push right now. I don't even know what's on. Hey, look, I'm just, you know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna give you the gunshot."
Then he sits there with a straight face, and I'm sitting there blown away, like, bro.
Wait, hold on. Say that again. Beliefs
are the things that you believe in, and values are the things that hold value in your life. And then he looked at me with a straight face, because I had to look that you have in your face, and he said this. If you can figure that question out, you'll figure life out. Best of luck to you. Got up and walked out the room.
And you didn't get the job?
I got the job.
But that's all he dropped you with.
Yeah, so check this out. 8 months later, I went into bro at a corporate meeting. You figured it out yet? He remembered me for an interview. I'm looking at him. I'm like, I think I kind of figured it out. Not really. And he goes, it's okay, because I'm 70 years old. I still haven't figured it out. But if you figure it out, you'll have the answers to life. So the question is, if you can decipher your beliefs from your values in your brand, is basically what are your morals? What does it stand on? What priorities? What are the priorities in your life?
I'm stumbling on that one. I'm trying to see it's like the semantics to it is like I have all these beliefs, but
Because one of the
what
things you
what I
believe in,
value is family, health.
that's it, right?
I value authenticity.
And what ranks higher? The values or the beliefs?
Yeah, your values.
Values.
Come on now. Okay, so we talking.
Yeah.
Talking now. We talk. So we can say we prioritize the values.
We'll exit stage left. off
Okay.
our belief
Yeah.
real
Hey, thank you
quick.
so much for watching this episode
Right.
of Hosting and
We're gonna wrap it up right there.
Appreciate you right there. Someone cue our music. Like,
Right.
hey,
We're gonna
wait.
think about this and come back.
So wait, this is completely different because if for most brands start off with saying this is our beliefs instead of saying this is what we value.
So is it a language thing?
Well, no, I'm thinking about it like if I'm saying this is what we value as a company,
To me, that sounds like this is what we don't play about.
well, like if I value
Yeah.
quality and authenticity, that means my brand is always going to have the highest quality, and whatever I do, whether it's marketing, whether it's going to be as authentic to who we are as individuals. That changes who you market to, how you market. So if you are building your personal brand, my values will determine who I'm partnering with in my brand.
Yep.
What I value. If you're a snake or you'll do anything for money
Can't ride.
and I value loyalty,
I can't ride.
That's it. That's it. And what I've picked up over the last like 5 years since I was asked that question is that your beliefs can change,
right?
but your values
Never
come
change.
on, bro. So I can believe that Donald Trump is the best candidate for president, right?
Boy.
But that belief can change tomorrow.
Yeah. If I get new information.
Come on, bro. Your
But
beliefs can
integrity.
change based on the context and the info that you receive.
Okay.
Your values are kind of
Values
concrete.
ain't changing.
Come on, bro.
So when it comes to building your brand, Cam, what would you say, tying that together in that lesson, how would you tie that into somebody watching this talking about building your personal brand?
So I would tie that in by saying that when you look at the most successful brands in history, they have been able to change with the times.
Yeah.
So there's a technology company that's been around since the 60s. Do you think they started as a technology company in the 60s?
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
They produced a completely different product at
A
the time.
different mission statement based
Different-
on the climate.
Exactly. But the values were always to provide the utmost and the latest and greatest technology. So they stayed true to their values, but their beliefs over time have changed because when they started, they believed that was the best product they could produce at that time.
Things change.
Things change. So your beliefs can change.
Distinction, bro.
But the values, you're
Remain the
always
same.
gonna come on, bro. Whatever you produce is always rooted into the values.
Dude, I was at this round table and this pastor had said something. He says, I use this phrase, it's like a Dr. Seuss rhyming phrase, but I thought it was so brilliant.
Yeah.
I took that, I stole it like a champ.
Give me that.
He says, methods are many, principles are few. Methods always change, principles never do.
Yep.
Methods are many,
Mm-hmm.
principles are few. Methods always change, but principles never do.
That's fire.
And I feel like there's a moment where there's got to be principles that you build your life on when you're talking about building your brand, that although your method may change of how you go about it, your values and your principles never do. And I think this is where when we're coming to building our brand, we have to do an audit of our personal brand equity. You have to learn how to audit your personal brand equity. In other words, you can't just assume you got all of this equity with people in your community around you if you haven't audited how you're showing up to them. Mm-hmm. And so if I'm looking at being able to build my brand, I've got to audit my brand equity and really look at it and say, man, am I really holding as much weight as I think I am? And the only way I can distinguish this is I had a conversation with my son, Coco. and he's about to be 16 in 2 months. And he's in that driving stage doing his permit thing. And I told my son, he been struggling with getting up early. My man, he got his phone. I don't know what it is about this generation. I say this generation like, man, I done hit that.
Dang it.
I got like that moment I got. Hey, so anyways, they just have their phone on silent all the time. So I'm like, yo, bro, Dad, I got my alarm on. So we used to get an argument. I said, you don't have your alarm on. Dad, I got my alarm on. And he had his alarm on.
But the phone was on silent.
But the phone was on silent. So he didn't get up. He struggled. So we had to come and knock on the door. So I told him, I said, son, you want me to allow you to drive, but you can't get up on your own right now. I said, I want you to look at your life like it's like a brand. And I said, what makes a brand valuable is what's called brand equity. Your brand equity will determine what you can take out when you need to take something out. And what you're showing me when it comes to your brand is that if you say you're going to wake up, you don't wake up. So therefore, your brand equity is really low right now. But you want to make withdrawals so that you can go hang out with the homies, so that you can learn how to drive, but you have low brand equity. I need you to do an audit on your brand. And I think sometimes when we talk about what you're saying about our brands and how we're moving, I think we have a higher brand equity than we actually have. I think we think that we're further in life, or we got more equity and more influence in a room than we actually do. And we haven't taken the time to audit and say, man, do I really have as much influence as I think I have? How does this, if you don't recognize your brand equity and you don't do an audit of saying, man, how am I showing up? I'm mad because I got overlooked on this promotion. I'm mad because men don't give me a time of day. I'm mad because women ain't trying to holler at me. I'm mad because I'm trying to get these clients and I can't. How does doing a brand audit, a personal brand audit, help you in that section?
We need to start saying, you need to do a brand audit. And then
I mean, anytime I think of the word audit, to me, it sounds like
feedback.
it's an honest assessment of like looking in the mirror. It's putting your brand or your company in the mirror and giving yourself an honest critique.
Yeah.
You know, because I think a lot of times, you know, I mean, Dips knows in the business space, these companies go and get evaluated.
Yeah.
And they're thinking like, I know I gotta be worth at least 5, right? And it come back and you like, you come up a little short, right? Like you're not getting with
like on Shark Tank.
They're never
they
worth what they
evaluate.
want. They're never worth what they want.
Right. Shark Tank's a great example.
They be like, D9. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Like you want how much for how much?
Yep.
And your brand's worth how much?
Yeah.
Yeah, you ain't getting that. Right? But these people go on there and everyone thinks they got the greatest, latest product, and I want 3 million for 2%, but you only worth 5 million. Like the math ain't mathing. Like something doesn't add up there, right? So I think there's an honest assessment as what needs to take place. And what the sharks do to those brands, in a quick snapshot of 30 seconds, they do a breakdown. Okay, how much did it cost to produce? You sell for how much? And you've sold how much in the last 2 years? You ain't worth what you're asking for.
This is your cash flow. How do you want?
This is what you really worth.
What is your brand cash flow?
And how many people are asking in relational equity more out of somebody that you don't even have?
Thank you.
You don't have the right integrity. You don't have the right wherewithal. You don't have the right consistency to get out of me what you're asking.
Your product is not worth what you're asking for. That's what we can bring it down to.
We just held somebody's relationship right
now.
I'm trying to let you know. Brother, you coming up a little short.
Solomon, we cooking right now, my man.
I hear it.
All right, turn the AC on here. Cooking, boy.
Chicken and shrimp.
Somebody asking something out of a woman or a man that you don't have.
Your product ain't worth what you're asking for, bro. You need to reevaluate what you're offering and put a realistic worth on it. And then ask yourself, why am I not getting the offers that I want?
Because most people put emotions over logic, but logic supersedes emotions.
Every time.
And I'm not saying emotions don't have a value, but this is your baby. You've been building this business. This is you. You don't want to admit that maybe I was out of integrity at that time, even though everybody does it. But at the end of the day, that ain't the brand equity. I can't ride. And sometimes you do. Sometimes you might have that, all right, Coco, but if you don't change this, or if you don't take an audit and clean it up, because we know sometimes that people they do have an ability at a level that they're just not meeting up to right now.
Yeah.
But you know what
But it's in
Coco's-
them.
But it's in them. But at the same time, you're just holding them accountable.
That's
right?
fire. That's
So
fire.
who can we trust to audit us when we can't audit ourselves?
Boy, I'm about to throw this mic at you, dude, if
Yeah.
it wasn't so expensive.
Who
Yeah.
can, who
Right.
can we trust to audit us when we're Delulu?
So because we can almost say that people, is it safe to say people will invest in what they see the quality in, right? So we could take it from a very everyday, you got Nikes on your feet.
Mm-hmm.
Travis Scott's cost aftermarket retail, $1,200, $1,400, but yet people will pay that aftermarket price, right? But yet it has to be the person who sees the value in that shoe to pay that price.
Yeah.
Because if I ask my dad, hey, Pops, you want to buy these for $1,000? He'd be like, huh, what? I wouldn't give you $50 for my shoes, right? Because he doesn't see the value in the kicks.
Okay, but here's something in that same thing. When it comes to building a brand and building value, one of the things that I also realize is on one end, you have the people who say, man, yo, that's valuable for me
Mm-hmm.
and I want to do it. But what do you do when you've placed a value on yourself and somebody refuses to see it for your brand? What do you do when you come out the gate and you say, yo, this is what I'm worth, and somebody doesn't believe
stand
that's
on
what
it.
you're worth?
You stand on it.
That's a hard one for me because it makes me feel away. I'm not gonna get that story, but it makes me feel
What you mean, bro? Get a story, G.
All right. I was having a conversation with someone in which they said something that made me feel like they were comparing me to other people.
Mm.
And I have this thing, God's still working on me. But and I know I'm not at that level yet, but if you don't believe in me, I'm going to move you from the love you category to the I still love you, but now I got to show you, and I'm in competition with you.
Mm-hmm.
And y'all know how we get with competition.
Yeah.
And then when I get there, it's like, what's up?
Yeah.
You didn't believe me then, so don't rock with me now.
But is
we
it-
cool?
But let me say this, because I believe this for myself, and I think it's a distinction that separates you with your brand, and I think it's saying that and realizing your brand's not for everybody.
Who?
Your brand's not for everybody. Now,
For everyone.
when Nike jacked the price up on Jordans to $160, $180 a pair, right?
Said they was
People
crazy.
said, hey, crazy. There ain't nobody in the world gonna pay $100 for a pair of shoes. The Nike say, okay, we're gonna come back down. We're gonna sell for $40. Who they're for, they will pay that price.
Yeah.
And if you rock with the Walmart joints, cool. Go get your shoes at Walmart. But
Get some
our
Starberries.
brand is not for everyone. I think that's what you have to be okay with. Like you stand on those values, you stand on the principles, and who my brand is for, and they will support it because they will see the value that I'm bringing.
And that goes back to what I said, attract and repel. I want to put out those artifacts to show you who I am and what I'm about and kind of what I think about. So if you're not for me, go that way. And if you are, come this way. And like when you told the story about you're not incongruent with our mission statement, that's why we got to let you go. The other side of the story for that person who got let go is that's okay. Your brand of who you are didn't align with the mission statement of this company.
So what does that sound like communicating? Let me ask you this, because you deal with clients, right? Now, we know you for years, so I know the value that you bring in the coaching realm. I would tell anybody, if you coach my brother Jeff Osborne, you are going to
Take it to another level.
that part, right? You pay what he's asking because what you're going to make in your career and your lifetime is well worth the investment.
Yeah.
Now, you can't tell me because I know you're not cheap, right? So when people come to you and you say, yeah, we could do X amount of sessions, I'm going to charge you X amount of money, and they say, ooh, I really want to coach with you, Jeff, but you're a little out my budget. You're a little higher than I want to pay. What is your response? And why do you give that response?
Yeah, boy, you gonna have me.
Can I
Come
throw
on.
some-
Go
let me
ahead.
throw something
Go
on
ahead.
there.
We talked about you.
I
That's why I want you to touch on it.
Because I want you to talk about both of these because you're at the point now you have no power. Even though it's a lot of money, you could be like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Also, how do you deal? So that question, but how do you deal with POS clients that maybe don't fit or align with what you're doing? And even though they would pay, you're like, you're just not a fit
Right.
to be
Are
my
all clients good clients, even if they got the money?
Oh, dog, y'all
on,
y'all in
talk
my
to 'em.
bag, bro. I think the biggest thing that I tell people when they come, you're not paying me to coach you. you're paying for your dream. That's first and foremost. Right out the gate, you're not paying. People don't care about when it comes to coaching. Most people who want to start businesses or start coaching or start speaking, they always talk about what the person's going to get. And they're appealing to this consumer mindset that you got to get more things. So you're going to get this, you're going to get that, you're going to sit with me for an hour, you're going to sit with me for this, and I'm going to give you that, and you're going to be able to have instant access. People don't care about what they're going to get. When I go to a bakery, no bakery has the ingredients on the shelf in behind the glass case.
Right.
You don't see the flour, the sugar, the vanilla, the eggs.
Right.
They show you the cake.
Give you the product.
They give me, it's the product, right?
Analogy.
Yeah. And so at the end of the day, when you're talking about your brand, I don't care about the ins and outs and all show me the product.
The outcome.
So when you coach for me, you're not coaching or paying, you're not paying me to coach, you're paying for your outcome. That's number one. But second of all, when it comes to your brand, people got to understand this. Everybody's going to try to nickel and dime. There's 3 types of people that you have in your life. And I learned this from my coach. You have freeple, cheaples, and preeples.
Break that down, bro.
Freeples are the people that want you to give them free stuff from your brand all the time. I want something for free. Those are your family members. Those are your friends. I always want something free from you. You want to take my time from me for free. You want me to invest what I got to do for free. These are freeples.
Jeff, can I take you out for coffee and pick your brain?
Yeah. Like freeples. The second one are cheaples. Cheaples are the people in your life that want the stuff for cheap. I want the cheapest investment that I can make. I want the cheapest package. I want the cheapest time. I want the cheapest relationship that doesn't require or cost me much. Give me the cheap stuff.
The low expectation.
With the low expectation. No. They got high expectations, but they got low money that they willing to pay. They got a low budget.
Yeah.
You want high expectations, low budgets.
Right.
And then you have the preeples. The preeples are the people who want premium stuff, so I'm going to pay the premium price for it. And when it comes to my brand, I tell people this, why I have no problem charging what I charge is because I paid the price. And people who are unwilling to pay when it comes time to pay will be unable to charge when it comes time to charge. So if you didn't pay the price to build and pour into yourself, you can't charge that to somebody else because you didn't pay the price of personal development. If you never paid the price to have a coach and to pay the price to be able to invest into yourself, I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not $1 million, investing in myself. That development.
To be able to be a coach.
Yeah. So what we do here on this podcast, what we do in a 30 to an hour session, you're getting what took us 20 plus years to be able to build up.
Faster. Speed.
Come on.
Speed.
100%.
I wish somebody told me all this.
What you saying? So when you ask me this idea, I'm not looking for everyone. I'm just looking for the right one.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I think when it comes to understanding our brand, you touched on it. I think it has to deal with understanding. I don't need everyone. I just need the right ones. And we underestimate the value of the reach that we have. If you have a social media, so my social media has been blowing up. In the last 2.5 months, I've grown 8,000 followers, right? And I get people like, oh, well, I don't have that many followers and I don't have that much, but you know, I'm up there pretty.
Yeah.
I've got the equivalent of a massive mega church. You know what I'm saying? And I'm working and I'm building it, right? So when people say, oh, you got 15,000 and you're growing and you got this, I look at that's 15,000 people that find value in my brand. So why am I gonna stress on all the other people that don't like what I'm saying? And so when it comes to building your brand and it comes to the price of doing it, I have to understand I'm not for everyone. I'm for the right one.
Yeah, I love that.
And so when we start evaluating that and dealing with that, it's huge. And I think this is why when it comes to building your personal brand, you have to understand the power of your narrative. When you talk about building your narrative, it's saying I control my narrative. You ain't gonna control the narrative of my brand. That's why people hated Trump. Regardless of whether you're a Democrat, Republican, Trump wasn't gonna let nobody
control that.
control. Even now, Like, it's absurd. You know what I'm saying? Like, he would have all of his words and do all of his stuff. But when you talk about the power of your brand, it's understanding that the value is the value that I bring. It's what I've poured into it. And you have to be able to control your narrative. So let me ask y'all this. When it comes to your brand and it comes to controlling your narrative, what do you say to somebody who may feel like I don't even have a voice big enough to control my narrative, or I may not even have enough eyes to feel like I have a brand? Do numbers matter when it comes to you building your brand?
Nah, it doesn't matter. Do it for the one. You know, people, I was on a podcast about starting a podcast, and the guy said, well, what about the person who it's like, nobody's gonna listen to me? And I'm like, yo, if you can't do it for that one person, those 5 people, then you ain't doing it anyway. Because the one thing I've learned is you can't measure impact. And you know, one of my goals is to inspire and instruct 1 billion people to live better lives and improve their business. I may not see that billion people right in front of me, but I might, like Tupac said, inspire 100,000 people, and 10 of those people might take it to another level. You know what I'm saying? I got a young kid, his name is Vance. Dude's worth like 30 million, killing it in Miami, doing his thing. He's got a best-selling book. I coached him and he's smashing on me. And so you never know what your impact can do. And if you can't do it without the trophies, then maybe it ain't your purpose.
Maybe that's not your brand.
Maybe that's not your branding, because I'm a work out no matter who sees it. I'm going to speak and do content no matter who sees it. Of course, I want to build a bigger brand and make more gravity around what I'm saying. But like you at the gold mine, if 5 people showed up and one of them was a teddy bear, I'm gonna spit like 100,000 people in there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So as we talk about, let me ask this question, Cam, and I'm gonna toss this to you because I feel like this is really important for us to really dial in on. Is all brands aren't created equal, right? So different brands have different influence. They have those different things. But what do you say to somebody who feels like I can't have a brand because I don't fit the mold? What do you say to somebody who's like, you know, I'm not like a Roy, I'm not like a Cam or a Jeff, like, and there's all these other brands out there. Who am I to be able to go brand myself a little bit different? How do I brand myself? Everybody's motivating, everybody's doing fitness, everybody's doing, you know, cars, everybody's doing designer wear or clothes. How, there's so many people, and I don't look like everybody else. Does that disqualify them from being able to have
I would say no one's disqualified from anything. It's like Simon Sinek wrote that book, like Start With Why, right?
Yeah.
So the purpose of the book is, what is your why? Meaning, like, what is it that motivates you to do what you're doing? Kind of like, what's your mission statement?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think with that in mind, it's identifying something. I think it's identifying a value that you stand on and building a brand that represents that value.
Who you are and your personality will come through your brand as well. And some people resonate with different personalities. I'll tell someone like, oh, this is a good idea, I might want to do this idea. And they're like, oh, a bunch of people are doing that. I'm like, yeah, but we aren't doing it. Somebody might vibe with my personality, or they might vibe with theirs. There's so many different people out here. And with the internet, you can get your tribe, and anybody can have $1 million business off of just a couple hundred people following them. That solid tribe, right? And so I think anybody can just let your personality come through, and don't worry about what other people think.
Yeah.
We're not afraid to fail. We're afraid to fail in front of other people. Who cares what people think?
Come
right?
on, boy.
Hard, bro.
Let
him
Cook, boy.
Let him cook.
Because they're gonna think bad stuff anyway. They're gonna talk about you behind your back and your face. They're gonna do it anyway.
Boy.
So it is what it is. Just keep moving and just put yourself out there, and just I love this statement right here. Just do stuff.
Just do stuff.
Do stuff, because you're gonna get feedback and then you're gonna change it, and you can't get it perfect anyway until you put it out.
One of my biggest challenges was, man, I was like, praying, and I was like, God, you've asked me to be in this corporate world. You've asked me to do this. I was, I am a pastor, but I'm no longer over a specific church, but I'm in corporate world and I'm business, and I've got tattoos and sleeves. I got a nose ring in. I dress the way I dress. Like, God, how are you going to do this? And I was so afraid that I felt like I had to be more churchy, and then I had to be more business. And God said, just do you, just do stuff that you do. And I'm going to bring the right businessmen and the right businesswomen to you when the right. So the moment I got confident in my brand, more times than none, the confidence you have in yourself and your brand makes other people want to partner with you.
Yep.
Ooh. Is it the confidence that comes with it?
Yeah, it's the confidence that comes with it.
Sets you apart.
Yeah, it sets you apart. That's why you look at all of these rappers, celebrities got gold grills in their mouth, or they got crazy tattoos, or they do stupid stuff, but they at the biggest, highest business summits, all these tech companies partnering with them, and they just look wild. Why? Because they're confident in their brand. And I would say that if you know who you are as an individual, you've understood your purpose, you've dived into what are your values and your morals, you've done an audit on your brand equity of who you are and what you carry, and then you understand that I'm not for everyone, but I'm going to be for the right ones, then that gives you the freedom to understand. And for me, I always say that when God is your source, you don't have to try to become something else from man, because God just wants you to be authentic to who he's created you to be. And when you're living in your sweet spot, when you're living in that target, then all the people who are called to be around your life, all the people that are called to support your business, all of the relationships or that husband or that wife that's supposed to be coming, they're going to come because you're authentically who you are. And that's what people get attracted to.
And you know what? You got to learn to listen to God. And I don't know if you can give a tangible thing on how to do that, Jeff, because that's not easy to do. Because it seems like his voice isn't there, but once you tune in, it's loud.
Yeah.
And I'll give a quick story. I was speaking at NDC in Dallas. And this is the biggest crowd I ever spoke to. It was like, I don't know, 2,000-3,000 people at the time. And, I'm a little nervous, and I'm up there. And as I'm giving my talk, I don't memorize my talks. I just have my map, and then I mold and shape based on who I'm looking at. And God was telling me to talk about him and give some Bible verses. And I'm like, I'm at a conference.
Yeah.
Dog, I'm at a conference.
Yeah.
I start getting anxiety, and he was like, yo, you better do this. And I did it. And I felt the way, and I got a round of applause. But the best part about, one of my favorite parts about speaking is when you're done speaking, you go to the back of the room, and then whoever thought you were cool or wants to connect with you, they come, they get a signed book or all that stuff. Being in the back of the room is the best part, because you not sure if you killed it, because a lot of times people don't give a round of applause because they're listening. And when they're really locked in, it's quiet, so you're not sure how it's going. Bro, people started lining up, and they all said the same thing. Like, I'm so glad you brought up God. People don't bring God into what they're doing. You're a believer. Can I get a picture? I was in there 2 hours just taking pictures and signing books. And I was just like, all right, I'm going to listen to you, and I'm never going to question that as long as I know it's clearly your voice.
Yeah. I think we'll get around to that. Maybe that's a whole nother talk that we have as we start, chopping it up with us. But what I want to do is, before we get out of here, I think it's important that we always want to give them content, and we always want to incite action. We've been talking about building brands, understanding the brand of you, defining your purpose. We talked about doing an audit of your personal brand equity. We talked about understanding that your brand may not be for everyone. We talked about how you got to value your brand, and the more authentic you are to your brand will determine who comes your way. But if we had to leave them something tangible, like an action that they could use to build their brand right now, like if I'm starting fresh and building my brand right now, what is something, I'll ask you, Cam, Dips, you'll follow up, is what would you give somebody as a tangible activity that they should do to start their brand, bro?
I would say focus on answering that question that we propose, the beliefs versus the values, because I think from values comes your identity.
Yeah.
And I think once you're clear on your identity, then that branding comes.
Yeah.
Because that brand's going to be a reflection of your identity. It's going to be a reflection of who you are and the values that you stand on. So I think it starts there. Yeah. I think if you just be clear on what you value, what those values are in your life, I think other things become very clear for you as far as what you're going to be known for, how you're going to do it. And I think that brand is a part of how you're going to do that.
I think 3 steps that anyone could do to really get clear about their brand and then build their brand is got this from Cam is write what you want people to say about you at your funeral. Write that down. And the third person, like Roy is this or whoever you are, write that down. Number 2, and this was an exercise that changed my life, is to write out your average day. Like, what does your average mundane day look like if you had no limits? Like, what time would you wake up? Who would you hang out with? What would you eat? What would you say? And then once you get clear about who you are and your brand, discovery trumps disclosure. So you don't have to go out there and tell people your brand. Just tell stories. Just tell them stories about something you've done or something you respected. And I could tell you a story about me doing a hike or working out, and I don't have to tell you that one of my values is hardworking guy. You're just gonna be like, oh, he's a hardworking guy because
I see it.
because the story that he told me. So get clear, tell stories. You don't have to be corny. If you're corny, be corny.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I think those are 3 things that anybody could do.
Come on, identity coach. Come on, give us something.
Hey, no, hey.
They gotta pay for the sauce.
Hey, but I'm gonna get this one for the free ski right now.
You got to put that booking link at the bottom. Go and click that link and book a discussion.
I tell people when it comes to your brand, you have to identify what is the outcome that you want to have happen for other people.
Ooh.
Because when you identify the outcome that you want to have happen for other people, that shapes everything in your brand and everything in your identity. I am addicted to watching people overcome limiting beliefs to become who God has created them to be. That means that at the end of them having an interaction with me, did I inspire them to do better, dream better, feel good about themselves, shift? That's why when I walk into a Starbucks, I'm memorizing everybody's name.
Yeah. Well, you're a beast at that.
You're a beast, bro. You the way you work a room.
You are a beast at that, bro.
But because it's part of my brand,
Right.
I want to care about the one because I wish somebody cared about me when I was a no one. And so that builds my whole brand. And so what is the outcome that you want to have happen for somebody else? When you dive into that and you identify that, it'll actually determine where you go, how you interact with people, how you show up. So I don't have an option of I have bad days, but I don't have the option to be able to wear that bad day.
Ooh.
Because my brand says that when I walk into a room, I'm a thermostat. I shift the atmosphere. And so I may be having a bad day, but I'm not going to wear that bad day because my brand says that my goal is to inspire people to become bigger than where they are right now. And I can allow what I'm going through to trump that.
You just made me think of something.
Yeah.
Here's a question, right? Like, what do you want people's experience to be when they interact with your brand?
Facts.
Wow.
We walk into Nike, any business, any corporate center, they wow you in the lobby, right? That's why we talk about like everything they have. So that's something to chew on. Like, what do you want someone's experience to be when they come in contact with you?
They're gonna judge you in the first 5 seconds, and everything they look at after judging you is just to confirm what they judged that first 5 seconds.
Boy.
So we already know eye contact, smile, shake. What is your brand? Is it introverted? That's fine too.
Yeah.
Show people your brand. Show people
I was
who you
cooking.
are.
I got all the notes up here.
Boy, hold on. I had to say that. Okay, look, now I try as much as I can not to close out a session without first addressing our man Solomon. Solomon, would you give us some words real quick that you've taken from this session of building your brands? I want you to hit the people like you always do, right in the mouth with some truth, bruh.
Well, one of the things that I really listened to was, talking about beliefs versus values. And the way I see it, one of them is sort of your guiding principle. That's your belief. And I think the value is the way you institute those beliefs day to day. So, and if you think about it, your values, that's what drives you. That's what says, I'm going to be a good person. I'm going to help that old lady take this thing off the shelf. Values drive how we implement our beliefs on a day-to-day basis. And so
I love that.
Our beliefs can still change, but our values can still be the tools to implement those same beliefs. So I love that. The other thing too is when you start to talk about um, value in terms of your value, the truth of the matter is your value is not going to be the same for everybody. And I think we talked about this before. If you think about going to Disneyland or going to a Chinese restaurant, you first thing you go in there and you see there's no windows, right? It's like they are creating a microcosm of a society, a micro society. And in that micro society, they then create the value, right? And so they can charge what they want. They create the atmosphere that gives you the ability to say, well, I want this or I want that. And then what happens is within that, there's competition. So there's other people in that same environment that have the same values. And so now you're competing against them. But in the outside world, all that stuff is valueless. And so, if someone
Let him cook.
yeah, if someone doesn't acknowledge your value, you're in the wrong audience. You know what I mean? And so
Boy.
Talk
other
to 'em,
people
follow 'em.
will.
Boy,
So that's
Yep.
where I look at it.
Love that.
Let him cook.
let him cook. I gotta do it again. Chef Solomon in the building. Hey, I want to just say that this session has been a good session. We talked about building the brand of you. You may have heard us say the word brand, but we're really talking about building you. How are you showing up in this world? My brother's been cooking. Our boy Solomon, our producer, been cooking. And we just want to thank you for being with us on another episode of the Bros to Men podcast. Until next time, keep taking this wisdom, keep growing, and just do stuff.